Joining me right now is Trump 2024 National Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt. Karoline, good to see you. Thank you so much for being here. Your reaction to Super Tuesday?
Well, last night was certainly a Super Tuesday for President Trump. It was a tremendous victory. Voters delivered resounding wins for him across the board, from Texas to New Hampshire. He won 14 of 15 states. He picked up 965 delegates. And what we're witnessing right now is really more than a campaign. This is a movement. We've never seen anything like this in American politics. President Trump is overwhelmingly the favorite of Republican voters. He is beating Joe Biden now in head-to-head matchups for the November general election. He's winning independents by historic margins. He's picking up historic gains with Hispanic Americans, African Americans. All Americans realize their lives were better under President Trump's leadership. And so now we are 100% turning our focus to the general election and taking that fight to Joe Biden.
So we've been reporting breaking news this morning, Karoline. Nikki Haley is going to exit the presidential race, according to the Wall Street Journal. Nikki Haley will be making remarks at 10 a.m. Eastern. We are expecting those remarks to me that she will drop out. The Journal says she will not immediately endorse Trump. However, your reaction?
Well, we'll have to see what Nikki Haley says. We hope that she will endorse President Trump, considering, again, that voters in states across this country have made their choice very clear. They want President Trump to lead this great nation again. It is beyond time for Nikki Haley to get out of this race and to unify around the president. He has been saying this for weeks, really for months. And so we encourage her to do just that, to adhere to the will of Republican voters. And again, we'll continue to focus our fight on having all Americans join our campaign. Any common sense, rational, logical American, if they're asked, are you better off today than you were 4 years ago? The answer is unequivocally no. When we see what's happening at our wide open southern border, when we see what's happening with our lagging economy where hardworking families are being left behind, when we see what's happening overseas with the chaos and the bloodshed and our adversaries being not deterred in their aggression because of Joe Biden's weakness, we need a strong commander-in-chief to lead this country again, and President Trump is the man for the job.
Monica, the Journal says that Haley is going to say and urge President Trump to earn the votes of the people who are backing her. If she's not going to endorse Trump immediately, what is she going to do? Is she going to endorse Biden? Jump in here.
Well, I think most of her voters are Democrats, right? and left-leaning Republicans who will, in all likelihood, come home to President Trump when it is a binary choice between Trump and President Biden. Good morning, Karoline. Quick question for you. So it was a huge night for the president, as we know. He is dominating Joe Biden in all of the polls outside of the margin of error. And what was remarkable about last night is that he dominated in all of the suburbs across America, except for the suburb around the swamp, which is no surprise. So doesn't this completely blow out of the water the argument coming from the left and even the never-Trumpers that Trump is not electable?
Yes, absolutely. President Trump has never been in a stronger position to win. By every metric, we see that. Every recent poll suggests that. And we also see it anecdotally on the ground. When you go to President Trump's events and rallies, he's joined by thousands of great Americans, many of them first-time voters who have been apolitical their whole lives, but see the destruction and the chaos and the bloodshed caused by Joe Biden's weakness. They see the chaos that is caused in their communities by this mass invasion of nearly 10 million illegal people across this country. The mainstream media will continue to push the false narrative that President Trump can't win with certain types of voters, especially women. But when women look at what's going on in this country, you know, the death of Laken Riley a couple weeks ago, that's every woman's worst nightmare. And women want peace. They want security. They want safety. They want to feel like illegal criminals who are in their communities will be deported and held accountable for heinous crimes, not allowed to run free. And that's what is happening in Joe Biden's America. Yeah. President Trump offers and promises peace and protection for all Americans, and that's a winning message.
Karoline, who will be President Trump's VP?
I love the candor, Maria, but honestly, that's a decision for the president to make. I'm sure you'll hear from him in due time. There are a lot of great options on the table, and it will be a great choice for the American people.
The Biden-Harris campaign put out a post on Super Tuesday. They put out a Super Tuesday memo this morning, and they're taking aim directly at Trump. Here's the memo. Karoline, watch this. Upwards of 10% of voters remain undecided, much larger than the current margin between Trump and Biden in polling, and 31% of all voters said they are not even certain that Trump will be the Republican nominee. Our campaign is focused on reaching those deciding voters. Meanwhile, Axios is reporting this. President Biden is privately pushing for a much more aggressive approach to 2024. He says go for Donald Trump's jugular, and that Biden is convinced he'll rattle Trump if he taunts him daily. Karoline, he's going to be calling him a loser. He's going to be taunting him with name calling. We're expecting this to ramp up now. Your reaction?
Well, Joe Biden should focus on learning how to read from a teleprompter before he talks about taunting President Trump. Best of luck with that strategy. It's not going to work. President Trump has never been more focused, more tenacious to fight for this country. You saw that in his press conference this week after the Supreme Court delivered a resounding, unified 9-0 victory against one of Biden's led witch hunts. President Trump looked direct to camera and said to Joe Biden two things: stop the weaponization of our Justice Department against me, fight this fight on your own, and secondly, Joe, close the border. Those are two issues that matter to the American people. President Trump will stay focused on the issues, focused on the solutions to solve the many crises that Joe Biden's policies have created. And more than 70% of Americans see that Joe Biden is physically and mentally incapable of leading this country. Think about how cognitively impaired he is right now. Imagine 4 more years. We can't afford it.
Mahak, isn't it interesting that Biden is focused on undermining Trump, calling him names? Shouldn't he be putting all his energy on convincing America that his policies can work?
100%. But Biden doesn't have a platform or any policy that's worked. He had the opportunity to secure the border. Instead of going to visit the border, Maria, he should have gotten out of his basement and signed those executive orders that he undid when President Trump was president. He has the opportunity to stop being soft on crime. He has the opportunity to start fracking and drilling immediately. We need to be energy independent instead of dependent on foreign countries. I mean, tons of opportunity, and he continues to throw it away and attack President Trump. Right. It's not going to work.
Instead of doing that, he's going for the jugular on Donald Trump. Karoline, thanks very much for weighing in on all of that. Good to see you. We will be watching.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Karoline Leavitt joining us.